Hi guys, we are going to continue on today with section, what section are we on? 3.18. And this is another pretty easy one, especially if everything we've been doing so far has been making sense. Sorry, let me turn my fan off because I'm trying to reduce the buzzing sound of the microphone. And this section is called Comparing Fractions and Decimals. So remember, of course, whenever we compare, we're going to be using these symbols. And the best way for me to remember them is just to turn them into little mouths. That's my, apparently a hairy little Pac-Man. And that, it just tries to eat the bigger number always. So the key is to figuring out what the bigger number is. And this time, instead of two numbers like 1 and 8, which is pretty easy to figure out, you're going to have a fraction and a decimal, and you're going to need to compare them using all of these strategies and the tools that we've been talking about and learning about so far. So let's take a quick little example. The little example they give is that Aurora just finished washing her dad's car. Her dad gives her two options. She can either have a third of the money in his wallet or $6.75. So and it turns out he has $20 in his wallet. So $20 over 3, that's 1/3 of his wallet, or $6.25. So the question is, which of these do we compare to? You have two options. You can take the fraction and move it to a decimal if you think that's easier, or you can take the decimal and move it to a fraction. I'm going to do both ways for this particular problem. Once you've done both ways with this problem, you're free to go, but I will do a couple more examples if you would like. Okay, let's take 20/3 and turn it into a fraction. I am going to first turn it into a mixed number. See how many 3's go into 20. That should be 6, right? Because 6 times 3 is 18. So I have 6 with a leftover of 2, because 18 plus 2 is 20. So I have 6 and 2/3. 2/3 if I'm going to turn it into a decimal. Now I probably know my thirds by now because we have divided that enough. But if I'm going to do this using our traditional method, I am going to do what my numerator goes inside, my denominator goes outside. I have to add some decimals. How many 3's in 20? We have 6 again. 3 times 6 is 18. Subtract, just like when we're doing our long division. Bring down a 0. I have 20 again. I think I'm starting to see a pattern. I'm going to have, I need my decimal. I'm going to put my 6. 3 times 6 is 18. 2, bring it down. So I definitely have 6 repeating. So 6 and 2/3 is going to give me $6.66. Or if I'm going to round, I guess it could be 67 cents. Either way would be fine. And this would give me clearly, I should take the third of the money in the wallet. Because if I take this and turn it into a decimal, I go here. Let's, though, quickly go the other direction. So again, say I wanted to go 20/3 or $6.25. And this time, I'm going to take my money here and I'm going to turn it into a fraction. So recall, we dump our little whole number, we save that for later, and I take my 25 and I make that the top of my fraction. And then the bottom of my fraction turns into the farthest right digits. It's a place value. So I have tenths and I have hundredths. So I have 25 hundredths. Now I can certainly simplify that, and I can simplify that, well, 5 jumps to mind, but even better is 25. Now I have, how many 25s are in 25? Well, 1, obviously. How many 25s are in 100? 4. So now I have 6 and a fourth and 20/3. Well, Now the problem is I have a mixed number and a fraction. So I am going to have to turn one of these into an improper fraction so I can really look at them. Since I've already done this, well, I think the easier way might be to turn this into an improper fraction, actually. So to do that, I'm just going to multiply my number out here by the denominator. 6 times 4 is 24. Actually, that's not going to be very helpful, is it? Because now I have different numbers on the bottom. It is trickier to go this way. It seems like going to the decimals is likely your best option, because this way I can see 20 thirds. Well, let's take a look. 20 thirds goes to, I did that earlier, goes to 6 and 2 thirds compared to 6 and a fourth. Now, this doesn't give me a clear idea, but I can kind of draw them out. 6 and a quarter looks like this, and 6 and 2 thirds looks like this. Oops, that's 1/3. This is 2 thirds. And I can definitely see that 2 thirds is more than a quarter. So I can again see that this way is bigger. Now, if you wanted, you could also compare using improper fractions, but that seems a little bit trickier to me, okay? If you feel like you can do it from here and use the tricks that we've got, go ahead. If you want to see me do a couple more examples, then hang around. I'm probably only going to do 1 or 2 because these aren't too bad, to be honest. All right, let's take a look at our next example if you're sticking around. Example 2. Is that off? Oh, there we go. Perfect. Example 2, and we are going to compare 0.45 and 6/10. Now, for me, I think the easiest way to do this is to turn this into a decimal. And even when I say this, I can kind of even hear it. 6/10, which I can write as 6/10, which is the same thing. I can also divide, if I like, by putting my 6 inside and my 10 outside. My decimal point goes there. How many 10s are in 60? 6. 10 times 6 is 60. Subtract gives me a 0. So I can see that I have 0.6. Now I can easily compare 0.45 to 0.6. And that is obviously 0.6 is larger, okay? Do one more quick example. Example 3, let's take a look at comparing 0.5 and 1/4. All right, I'm going to take my fraction and bring it into a decimal because I think that's going to be the easier way. And 1/4, I probably know the decimal to that, but I'll show you how to get it just in case you forgot. I am going to put my 1 inside, and I'm going to put my 4 outside. Okay, how many 4s are in 10? Well, 2. 2 times 4 is 8. Subtract, ends me with 2. Bring down a 0. How many 4s are in 20? That should be 5, right? 4 times 5 is 20. Subtract 0. Awesome. Make sure I bring up my little decimal point. I can see that 1/4 is equal to 0.25. So 0.5 compared to 0.25 is definitely 0.5 is greater. All right? Should be pretty easy, and good luck.